Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of Art Side of Life, where it's all about how you can turn your creative passion into a profession. My name is Eva, and my guest today is an amazing illustrator, character designer, and freelance artist from Netherlands. She enjoys all pretty things, and she once mentioned that her first word ever spoken was mooi, which means pretty or beautiful in Dutch. Her favorite part about art is creating something from absolutely nothing, like a blank piece of paper, and the fact that you can communicate emotions through art. The main motivation for her to create art is to be part of her artistic community and to see her own improvement over time. Every day she inspires her impressive Instagram community of more than 1.3 million followers with her new and amazing artworks. She likes color blue and she combined aquamarine and cyan color into her nickname. So please welcome Laura Brouwers, better known as Cyarine. And let's get to the interview. Welcome everyone to the next episode of Art Side of Life, and I'm super happy to have Laura here. Hi!
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm really excited. We already talked a little bit. You seem like a super lovely person. I'm so excited about this project because there's no real podcast that I've been really enjoying about art lately. So
great to hear. Oh, and thank you so much. And I'm really excited to have you here because, you have such a big community and you inspire so many people. So thank you again. And let's dive in and let's start with your background. And if you can tell me maybe what was your first creative outlet, what you remember as a child?
Well, I have drawings from when I was like 2 years old even. The really fun story, I won my first drawing contest when I was 2.
What?
But I only won it because it was like a coloring page, and instead of coloring on the page, I turn it around, and on the background I was just like scribbling. I didn't know what I was doing. But the contest was for Easter, and I was drawing in circles. So my mom was like, "It's abstract Easter eggs." She was really smart. She should have went to art school. I mean, she can do the talk already. But yeah, that's how I won. I think it was a VHS about some kind of Dutch kids TV show. And I mean, that's like, it's not something that I remember, obviously, or like an actual conscious creative output. But I've been drawing for as long as I can remember. I was always a very creative child. And I always spent a lot of time by myself. And I really enjoyed just kind of keeping myself busy, sitting in my room, listening to music and just kind of drawing and stuff. So I don't know, I just always remember doing it. But community-wise and like actually seriously drawing, I started joining social media that isn't around anymore, actually. And I had a lot of friends who drew as well in elementary school, but also in high school. And I kept posting, I kept getting inspired by them. So yeah, that was just, I kind of rolled into it naturally. And when those social medias stopped existing, I went to Facebook, first on my own page, then on a brand page that everybody was doing back then just for fun, not expecting to get any followers out of it, just trying to keep up to date with the people in the community that I was in already. So that was... that was kind of how I started with it. I rolled into it, and then Instagram started naturally. DeviantArt started naturally. So 7, 8 years ago,
really?
I think.
Oh, yeah, that's true. And so what was kind of maybe like at the moment when you decided I want to take this professionally? Was there like the moment, or it was the whole transition?
It was a transition, definitely, because like I said, I've been... cables. Anyway, I've been kind of posting... for such a long time, and I was just part of online communities, and I made a lot of friends online, even when it wasn't for professional reasons, because I just did it as a hobby. But when I was 17 or something, I think I joined Instagram more seriously. Oh, I think I joined Instagram itself when I was 17, pretty sure. And then around 2014, it started rolling a little bit. I started getting more followers, and I started to know people that had a lot of followers as well. So I kind of collaborated with them and got more followers from that. And I just kind of got really motivated to do more with that. And I watched a lot of YouTubers, gaming YouTubers mostly, not art YouTubers, but I saw how they interacted with their fans. So I was like, maybe I can do that with art. So yeah, that's how it started.
That's really cool. And was there some like conversation with your parents when you told them like, okay, I will kind of continue doing this like really professionally and like earn money with my art?
I wasn't living with my parents when I kind of got more serious. I actually have been living away from home since I was really young. So I was in healthcare, and the people there were kind of concerned about me drawing so much, actually, because I didn't go to school. I was homebound. I have been sitting at home since I was about 15 years old, 14, 15, I think. And they were constantly trying to motivate me to do other stuff, to go to like volunteering work and that sort of stuff. But at one point, like when I think I was 19, I was still volunteering, and I was doing art on the side, and I had like about 100,000 followers or 200,000 followers. No, I think 100. And I started getting job offers as well. And I was just like, I mean, I might be qualified unfit for work because of healthcare reasons, because there's like a government organization that has like a percentage of how unfit for work you are if you're sick or handicapped. And I was on 100%, but I just went to them and I was like, I think I can do more than volunteering. Talked to my personal counselor at the time and said, well, this is taking up so much of my time. I want to spend more time on it. It might take away a little bit of my social interaction for now, but I want to work towards making that like okay as well. And I was getting arm injuries from working at the shelter because I used to volunteer by walking dogs. So I was getting like real pains from drawing and walking the dogs at the same time, because most of the time it was very aggressive dogs. So I was just like, I want to take it more seriously. I think I can do it. And it went really well. And it has been going well for about 2 years now.
So that's really good. I'm happy for you.
Yeah, I haven't really been doing it for a long time, but I thought I wasn't really an experienced entrepreneur at first, because you have to be an entrepreneur if you want to start a business and do art professionally. But funnily enough, yesterday I had a moment where I was like, actually, I do have quite a few skills now when it comes to setting up contracts, talking about deals, and talking about things like copyright and all that stuff, because I was explaining it to someone else who I was helping with a commission. And she was very confused, and I was like, oh wait, this all made sense to me pretty easily. So I must have learned something over the past years. Yeah, I was a little bit happy to see that I was improving in that sort of aspect as well.
Oh yeah, maybe with that we can discuss that as well. We should come back to the copyrights and what you learned over time. And I would still like to know as well, what were kind of the biggest decisions or turning points where you kind of got here, where you are now?
I don't know. I have like timelines, I guess, because 2014, like I said, in the summer, so about halfway through the year, I hit 20,000 followers. That was like the moment where I was like, yeah, this is gonna be big. Because like at first I was like, okay, 10K is a lot, but 20K was like, I can do more than that. I doubled the 10K, the big 10K that everybody talks about. It has like a K at the end of it, and it didn't say just like your follower number anymore, especially on Instagram. It looks really cool.
Yeah.
And I was talking to friends about it, and I was like, I think I can make it to 100,000 if I really put a lot of work and effort into it. And that way I would have a sustainable business and enough leverage to start doing commissions on a regular basis and make a living off of it potentially. And I hit 100,000, I think, by the end of the year. So that went really quickly. And by then I said, maybe I will hit 1 million one day. And that happened
and now
too.
you are there.
Yeah, I hit 1 million, I think, early this year, I think in February. So it has been quite recent. And I thought, like, at 1 million, oh, this is it. But it kept going.
It is amazing. So I mean, people really like what you do. And Yeah, so keep doing that.
I'm really honored. I don't know what I did to deserve it, but it means a lot, obviously.
It's really nice. I mean, your artworks are amazing and you share a lot of your stories and experiences. So I think that's helping that for sure.
I try my best, at least.
And what do you think was like the best advice you ever received when you started the career? And also maybe the worst advice, if you can compare.
I don't know. When it comes to advice, I never really had like a mentor figure because I've been kind of learning by myself and I haven't studied at all. And I was kind of fighting against people saying that I shouldn't be spending so much time drawing. Sadly, there wasn't a lot of positive response from it at first. And my parents were always really supportive of my creative side. But yeah, I wasn't working with them, so I wasn't living with them. Whoops. But when it comes to good and bad advice, I don't know specifically if I had like one piece of advice that really changed it. There were different smaller pieces of advice that kind of stuck with me over time. Like even simple things like little tips and tricks on how to draw someone, like draw bigger pupils if you want to have a more friendly looking character. The tips of the fingers and about at thigh height, like sort of stuff that kind of stuck with me. Although there was one person that did help me with a lot of more professional things. She was a counselor that only did like when there was no one available, she would fill in for other people because she was quite old. I think she was like in her 60s, so she wasn't as young as most of the people that worked where I used to live. And she was actually a contemporary artist as well, so she had a lot of experience pricing artwork, doing exhibitions. She did exhibitions at the treatment center as well because there was like a big reception building where there was other treatments as well for example, deaf people. And I think I also like a lot of psychology stuff and research stuff as well. And I got to do an exhibition there as well, which is a really good experience. Even though my artwork wasn't really good at the time, it was, I think, about 5 years ago now. It was really cool to have my artwork presented in a professional manner and get print purchases and know the difference between pricing original work and print work. So it was all just kind of like that small pieces of advice. But lately I've been meeting a lot of other artists, and I think that is just very inspiring for me in general, because just talking to them about very normal things, everyday things that we experience, really helps kind of put your own experience as an artist in perspective and not have you worry so much about what is okay and what is normal and what is abnormal, and if you're doing fine and if your feelings are normal, or if you should be changing anything about your outlook on things. Yeah, I don't know. It's really hard to explain because it's kind of abstract. I hope that answer made some sense in some way.
Yeah, definitely. Because then you can find out like you might have the same problems or same solutions to these problems, or just the outlook on life. And I was like, oh, okay, this is okay, or this is the same. So definitely.
I don't think that there's one piece of advice that really can incorporate everything that we as artists experience, because there's so much that we have to keep track of and keep in mind. I think one piece of advice would never cover everything, no.
Is there something which kind of stuck with you? As you said, there were like more advices like the fingers or like tide and how you draw it.
Yeah, but nothing that I want to say as in like, oh, this is the thing that really changed everything for me. Because I feel like that is sort of the question you're asking. Like, this piece of advice was the most useful. I don't know if that's true, but that's just not how I looked at those pieces of advice. I think there's I don't know. I'm trying to think really hard if there's like a one piece of advice that I can think of. I I remember a while ago, an artist that I personally really look up to shared a piece of advice to his followers, and I actually had the pleasure of talking to him a couple of times. His name is Cheeks Galloway. I think that's his like nickname online. Yeah. He's an amazing artist, a very amazing role model to look up to. I love his Marvel work. I love his Disney work. But he said something about the industry and like fearing that you have to fit in a certain way, that you have to fit certain like stereotypical things about it. Yeah. And he said, don't forget that you are the industry in some kind of way. I don't recall the words that he specifically said, but that kind of stuck with me, to think like, if it works for you, like, oh, for me specifically, we are the industry, we are the consumer, we are the people that are experiencing content in this day and age. So our opinions, our personal taste is just as valid as what, you know, people think they have to fit to, and what has been kind of the old standard. Yeah. That was a really useful piece of advice, because it made me a little bit less stressed. Because I struggle a lot with self-confidence as an artist. So
what? Especially in your community, how is that possible? What the other people should think now?
I mean, I was gonna go back into that later, because there's definitely some struggles that I've even with a lot of followers that I have experienced. But yeah, that really, really stuck with me, that piece of advice by him.
Oh, that's perfect.
Just him, because he is such an amazing artist, because he has been in the industry for such a long time, and because he is, I don't know, just someone that a lot of people look up to. I don't know, I tend to think too much about what other people think, but it can help in some cases if other people also look up to one person, and if one person is regarded as professional and then says don't care about it, I feel like I can take their word for truth a little bit more.
Yeah, I think it's great, because then you kind of look up to different people for different reasons. You can have one role model like, okay, this is a really good presenter. Another one is like, okay, really great, I don't know, color and light or interaction with people. So I think it's really great to kind of surround yourself with different people. They can inspire you. So
yeah, I think what the kind of philosophy that I've been kind of working with lately is by trying to surround myself with as many talented people as possible, and kind of the approach of always trying to be the dumbest person in the room.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it sounds a little bit mean if you say it like that. So a lot of people go, "What, dumbest? You're not dumb, blah blah blah." But that's not what I mean. I mean to say that I always try to talk to people and actively engage with people that I consider my superiors, because those are the people that I want to learn from. And it might be comfortable to surround yourself with people that look up to you, but in the end that can be really harmful for your own growth. And by putting yourself in a position where you feel like you're the student, and when you're ready to learn, and you already are in the mindset of going, okay, I have lots to learn, and this is what I'm going to do and what I'm going to focus on, the confidence dips that you get become less bad as well. For me, at least, trying to be the student and put myself in that mindset really helped me over time to get more comfortable.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
especially with confidence problems, like I said.
I think it's perfect because not the confidence problem, but the inspiration. Because I really like also the quote, like, you are the average of 5 people you spend the most time with. What Jim Rohn said, because exactly as you say, because you want to become better and you want to learn. And if you just hang out with lazy people, or they don't want to do anything or complain all the time, then you will kind of slip to that, and then you will be the same. But if you spend time with people that are like, yes, let's do this, I can make it, and so yeah, definitely that helps.
Yeah, we're definitely social creatures, even though a lot of people say, oh, I'm so antisocial. I mean, I am really affected by my environment, even if it can just be like lighting or temperature or anything like that, like the weather outside. People also really, really come into play with that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's important.
And so, what inspires you the most? Or is there something strange maybe which inspires you? I don't know, leaves on the ground or something special?
I think everybody kind of gets inspiration from everywhere. And I think I'm no exception to that. I don't know. It's really hard to say because I think my inspiration, when I need inspiration, I consume artwork by others, and I consume content that I enjoyed, like video games and movies and that sort of stuff. I'm not really big on comics. I'm more a reader. I used to be a bookworm, but lately I'm not really because I'm not, like I said, I stayed home for most of my childhood, so I didn't have a lot of education. I have good conversing skills, but a while ago I tried to read a young adult novel. I picked up a book in English, read the first page, and the first sentence had about 5 words that I didn't understand. So sadly, I'm not as much of a bookworm anymore. I can read kids' books and teen books, thank God, which I generally enjoy more anyway. But yeah, that sort of stuff inspires me, I guess. I'm trying to think of anything else that really inspires me, but like I said, inspiration is not, I think inspiration for me is not necessarily an inspiration for artwork itself, but inspiration to work, or inspiration to better myself, are caused by environment, definitely. Yeah. I can really just be inspired after going out for a walk or sitting somewhere where a lot of different people go in and out. And by talking to other people. Like I went on several trips lately where I met other creators and artists, which is definitely like the number one inspiration source for me as of lately.
Yeah, that's super nice. And so when you mentioned books, do you have like favorite books you would give as a gift to people, or something you would read over, or something maybe to learn from as well?
I have a few favorite books. Used to be a very big fan of the Artemis Fowl series. It's I don't know, someone will probably hear this and go, yeah, I used to be a fan of that. That's such a long time ago. I want to reread those books again. Harry Potter series, also like the classic fantasy stuff. But my all-time favorite has been Inkheart. Mm-hmm. The Inkheart series is so good, and the way that it really encapsulates my childhood for me, because it was an escape from the real world, and the book is literally about escaping from the real world in a lot of ways. So yeah, I don't know, that's kind of like something that I think back about when I'm like, okay, what kind of artist do I want to be? What kind of stories would I want to tell with my artwork? Because I don't know, for some reason I always think that I have to tell a story someday, even though I'm not a story artist and I'm just like a concept artist that does pretty stuff. I think back about that sort of stuff and I'm like, okay, if I wanted to do something that was meaningful, it would probably be that, because it has such a big impact on me and my childhood. Yeah. When I was younger. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, as you said, also you always think about stories when you're creating your characters anyway, kind of why they are wearing their outfit or their pose or whatever. Yeah. And when you mentioned that you are learning by yourself as well, can you recommend maybe some sources to go to, like websites or some books or movies you like, documentary about like art or learning?
I haven't really been actively consuming like actual useful media on studying certain topics. I kind of find things here and there on the internet and in books that I've purchased, like a few just like art books, things with images. I kind of study visually a little bit more, but I've been asking my friend Piccolo about his resources, because I know that he has a lot of good books and actual things that would be useful. So I don't know, I really feel like my knowledge on this field is kind of lacking. I don't really have any recommendations currently, sorry.
So you haven't checked out any of the ones he recommended you yet?
No, he said a few, but I don't have it in like chat history or anything because it was in person that he said it. So I have to remind him to send them to me because he keeps forgetting. I mean, we're both really busy people, so I don't blame him, but he should send it to me. Look on.
So then we can put it afterwards in the show notes, what you want to like check out some books, like, okay, these are good, I like these.
Yeah, if I ever have recommendations, I will probably send them over.
Perfect. And if you think about your branding or your artworks, is there something you always try to communicate through your artworks, like your vision or something like that?
Through my artworks, I don't know. I just kind of want to show what I think is pretty and what I'm interested in. I have been working a little bit more on characters that have a bit more of a background story. Mm-hmm. And for these characters, I do want to make fun female characters because, funny story, a lot of people ask me why I just draw girls, or mostly girls because I still draw guys every now and then. It's because I try to actively make fun female characters. I used to draw just guys, actually, when I was younger, and develop male characters, but I came to a point where I was like, okay, I never really want to cosplay because I used to cosplay very, very long time ago, female characters, and I never really want to draw them. Why is that? Why don't I enjoy them? And that's because the characters that were presented and that were in media, I just generally hated because they were mostly stereotypes and they were mostly very boring and didn't have three-dimensional characters at all. And there's exceptions to this, obviously, but generally speaking, there weren't very many. And I made it kind of like a thing that I wanted to have interesting female characters, or at least what I think is interesting and attractive, because the artwork that I post on my Instagram is not the work that I do when I work for clients. But it's mostly just kind of like my free time work. So it tends to be one-sided. I kind of want to add a little bit more variation to that now that I'm taking more time off freelance work by going back to YouTube and Instagram with more time. I don't know. I want to make sure that I do something that I would have appreciated when I was younger, definitely. And still appreciate it, if I'm being honest. Yeah.
And if someone would like to start to do what you do now and they're wondering like, okay, where should I start? Like, should I just buy a pencil or paper, or should I just go directly to digital? Or what is your experience? What would you recommend maybe to start with, and what do you do now?
I think a really good basic kit would have to be like pencils, a small sketchbook, and pens, like ballpoint pens even, because that's my preferred lining tool. I wouldn't say investing in markers is a very smart idea. Watercolors, like a basic set, could be a good move because it can help you put down at least basic colors, which is, I think, like quite essential to start artwork. I wouldn't go for digital immediately, but I would be hypocritical to say that don't buy a tablet when you're young, because my first tablet I bought I got as a Christmas gift when I was about 14 years old, 13, 14, I think, maybe. It was a Wacom Volito, very, very old, very old. It did have pen pressure though, so that was cool. And there's a lot of free drawing softwares. There's cheap drawing tablets available. I would never invest in something big because you never know what kind of artist you might end up being. Maybe you prefer traditional art if you are drawing for a while. Maybe you prefer digital art, then you can always upgrade. But basic tablets are definitely good enough. Yeah. But like the basic essential kit that I would gift to someone starting, it would be a sketchbook, a set of basic pencils like HB for sketching, maybe like a B pencil and like a 4B, something like that. I really like those. A colored pencil for basic sketch lines if I wanted to line something and take a picture of it, and a ballpoint pen. That's like everything I would recommend as a first start.
Perfect. And because I think the equivalent for the starting tablets is like bamboo, maybe from Wacom, and they are like a cheap. Yeah. I think that's the starting one, isn't it? Like the cheapest one, the small one, right? Yeah.
It's now, I think, the Intuos, and then they have the Intuos Pro instead of what used to be the Intuos series.
Yeah.
People always think that I named my cat after the tablet series, but I didn't. This is actually his name already. He came from the shelter, and he already had it, so it happened to be a nice coincidence.
That's actually really nice, like match. So.
Exactly. I mean, I skipped the Bamboo series because I went from a Volita to the Intuos 4, which is the equivalent of an Intuos Pro.
Yeah.
So now I have a Bamboo after all.
So you have everything.
Yeah.
And now you use also Cintiq, right? As you mentioned. Yeah.
I used to use a Cintiq Companion 2, and now I recently upgraded to a Cintiq Pro 16 for my my stationary workspace.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have my Cintiq Companion 2 repaired hopefully very soon. So that I can take that with me on the go. I tried the iPad Pro. I didn't really like it very much. No. Sadly, I got really bad shoulder cramps from it. And it took me a very long time to actually create on it and sketch on it. It took me about like 2 or 3 times as long. And yeah, I don't know. I never had that learning curve with Wacom tablets and other graphic tablets that I've used. Yeah, I don't know
because
why.
I still haven't used the iPad Pro either, so I'm thinking like, oh, should I get it? Because I have also just stationary Cintiq, and I'm like, should I get the companion? And then it's like this discussion, so I guess everyone needs to try for themselves what they like more.
Exactly. I mean, there's also the Surface Pro, I think, or the Surface... Is it the Surface Pro? I don't know what the line for the smaller tablets is. I think HP even has like a small Elite book that has Wacom technology in it. There's so many options that people don't even think about. People really think that there's just like 1 or 2 brands, and Wacom and Apple are like the high end of all the computers and drawing tablet related stuff. So yeah, I think it's good to kind of root for the smaller companies as well that are releasing really good products as well.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of smaller, I think Yenova even released a companion-like tablet.
Yeah, I think they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With like a laptop built into it, and it runs Windows as well, which is really convenient if you use, for example, Paintool Sci, because that doesn't run on anything like an iPad or something like that.
Yeah, that's true.
So, yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of options to explore. I should explore it a little bit more myself because I've just kind of been used to Wacom, but I don't know if the other tablets have a similar quality and would be worth it. I know a friend of mine uses a Yenova and is really, really happy with it, but it is about half the price of a Cintiq, so that's a very big difference indeed.
Yeah. So if you research it, let everyone know, and we can try.
I mean, I was really interested in the Yenova because their support is actually located in the Netherlands, oddly enough, and about like an hour from my home. So it was really like, I didn't know you guys were here. Yeah, because a lot of the smaller companies tend to be Asia-based, and they tend to have limited distribution worldwide. But Yenova having direct support in Europe is really, really positive, I think. I was really surprised by that.
And do you have also like a favorite brand from the traditional tools?
I mean, I would almost feel rude not to say Faber-Castell because I don't know, I've been to their factory and I saw it being created and I know kind of the story behind it, so I'm kind of a Faber-Castell fangirl at this point. I mean, they offered me a bunch of their products as well, which I'm so happy with. I also used a lot of their products before I even went there. They have the art pens, which I'm really, really happy with. I think they're called they're like brush markers almost. They're really cool. Besides that, I swear by Pentel ink brushes. Those are amazing. And big ballpoint pens, the best pens there are. They're amazing. So smooth. And I love the aesthetic of it as well. I don't know, as an Instagrammer, it's good to have like aesthetically pleasing art materials, and it just makes you excited to work with them. I mean, if your pens don't look pretty, who would pick them up? Right?
Yeah. I don't usually use pens, so that's really, kind of, I need to try. But it's really interesting.
Ballpoint pens are really versatile, so you should use them.
But it's scary because you cannot erase it.
I mean, yeah, but you can't erase paint either.
I know. And when you now mentioned Instagram, let's go to that. And maybe can you share some tips, what you learn over the time? Something like, oh, this is really interesting, you should do or you shouldn't do.
I think a lot of the tips and tricks on to grow your Instagram profile is a little bit outdated because it changes so quickly. And I've worked with Instagram personally. I've visited their office recently as well, and I've discussed it with them as well. And they're really open to it as well, which is really cool. They're super nice people. But they're constantly experimenting with how the algorithms work, how the what happens on the platform. I mean, only a few months ago, I think they released the live stream function, and now they were already product testing something else for it, which I had the pleasure of being part of. So I don't know. I think it's really important to stay flexible. I think that's and to experiment a little bit, see and observe, see what statistics change. For example, there was a time where the Explore page was a lot more organic, and now there tends to be a lot more trends on it, so it tends to not give you as much traffic as it used to. Stories used to be more promoted as well on the Explore Stories feed. Now they're a little less promoted. And videos, for example, used to be favored over photos a lot of the time. And I used to get a lot of views. I used to get like 2 million views on a video that I would post. And I would get thousands of followers within a day because of just posting a simple video. Because it was just pushed out so much. And now it's halved or like even quartered, like the views. The algorithms change so much, and you really have to kind of shift your focus depending on where it goes if you want to keep growing. And I know a lot of people stick to one thing, and I think that's when I see most people kind of stagnate in their growth, because if they stick to using a certain trick to get more followers, either people are going to notice or it's just not going to work anymore, and people are going to get bored of the content and leave. So on top of, the actual algorithm not favoring your content anymore, people will also probably notice it in some time. So I think that is what helped me grow as well, kind of noticing, okay, videos do really well now. I did more videos, then having a series as well, doing the outfit of the days really helped me keep people around for a longer time, because they would recognize the pattern as well. So yeah, there's different things that you can experiment with. It's not for everybody to do the same things, obviously, but yeah, experimentation is key.
And yeah, because do you also have some kind of like a spatial scheduling, like, okay, on Tuesday I will do my outfit, then the other day I'll do the full I don't know what?
No, I used to kind of feel obligated to post every day at least. I had a period where I would post multiple times a day even. I try to plan. I'm not a planner. I'm very disorganized, which is very inconvenient when it comes to answering emails. I'm sure you've noticed. But when it comes to scheduling, no, I never really did that. I became a lot more flexible, and I actually took a break for a while. And now I just kind of do whatever I want to do. I try to post, I try to spread it out a little bit more. So if I produce a lot of artwork within like a short amount of time, I will spread it over a longer amount of time, so I don't have like gaps of inactivity when I'm active, at least. That's the only thing that I really keep track of. Besides like time posts, I do keep track of when my followers are most active. And I know that I have a lot of American followers, but also a considerable amount of European followers, Western European. So I tend to post in like the late evening for Europe time zone, which I am located in, around 8 p.m. my own time, because I know that a lot of Americans will see it at this time as well.
Yeah, so not asleep, and they are still also up in Europe,
That's like the most direct influence on how many likes I can get. If I would post in the morning, I would get like 20,000 likes less easily, because it just doesn't show up on people's timelines anymore.
Yeah, yeah. And then they have to remember to go like actively to your profile to search for something. If that, yeah. And there is so much content. But also you write some stories about your each piece, like why did you do it, or kind of how. So there is a bit of a background, like writing about it, like every post you do, I think.
What do you mean exactly? Like,
kind of like you don't just write like, okay, here is my next drawing, but you just say something more about it.
Yeah. I try to put a little bit more into the description as well. I mean, I put a lot of things in my Instagram stories and in my Twitter updates, but I think most people end up seeing my artwork posts. So this is where I update everybody on what I'm doing. And especially because I get so many questions about what I want to do, where I am, why I'm less active, for example, or why I'm more active, or that sort of stuff. I try to put in a lot of background information. I think that is useful.
And how do you design your day? What does your normal day look like? You know, you wake up, you have a coffee, or the whole kind of scheduling thing.
I tend to be more creative in the evening, so I tend to wake up a little slower. I'm actually quite a morning person. I really enjoy early mornings, and I enjoy late nights as well. So when people ask me if I'm a night owl or a morning person, I say both, which is unfortunate if I want to sleep. But I tend to wake up quite late because I, after all, work with a lot of American clients, and my fan base is mostly American time zones and in Brazil as well. So this is when I'm most active and I do most of my artwork. But during the morning, I tend to get up, eat breakfast, drink coffee, and kind of inspire myself by watching content that I like. I usually watch like an episode of my favorite show or vlogs that I follow, or that sort of stuff. I try to give myself some time to get started and feel good about the day. And that's when I do emails and contact people, because if I want to do stuff with like deliveries and all that sort of stuff, and sending back tablet for repairs, even that sort of stuff, those people are all located in Europe, in the Netherlands specifically. So I have to do that during the day, during office hours. Otherwise, I won't be able to reach them. And then after that is done, I don't have any distractions. I don't have people bothering me via email or calling me or all that sort of stuff. And that's when I start to do art. I do most of my artwork after dinner. I cook dinner pretty much every day because, I eat at home pretty much every single day because I don't cook like elaborate dinners every day.
Like 20 plates.
Nah, I don't. I wish I had the time for that and the skills, if I'm being honest. I'm not the best cook, but yeah, I try to take time to do that sort of stuff, just to eat casually. I don't really have a very hectic lifestyle. I used to eat while I was working, really spend a lot of time just physically drawing, like 8 hours a day. I would just be stuck to my tablet. Not good, because I got tennis elbow now.
Yeah. Oh no.
Yeah, it's really bad. Oh, I said tennis elbow. That's really weird.
I think you call it that, no?
No, tennis elbow, but I said elbow, which is elbow. Almost like how we say it in the Netherlands.
I heard elbow anyway, so
Okay, well, whatever. But yeah, I used to do that. That wasn't a good idea. I try to take my time, not draw as much. And then after that, I play some video games and I go to bed.
So what is your favorite video game or the TV show, what you said?
They vary so much. I'm really excited for the new Stranger Things season, which is coming up pretty soon. That's one of the best shows I watched in a very long time. Besides that, watch a lot of vlogs. I watch mostly Julian Solomita's vlogs. He's an amazing vlogger, and they're just really laid back to watch, kind of in the background and zone out with. And especially because they're not artists, and they have such a different lifestyle from mine. It's really calming to watch, and it's not as stressful because I'm not like thinking about art as much when I watch them. Vlogs are really, YouTube over television at this point, definitely. And besides that, video games, it kind of varies a lot as well. Lately, I've been playing a lot of Don't Starve Together again. And I really enjoy Overwatch, as a lot of people do. But I play a lot of strategy games like Age of Mythology. I'm really, really into old games and replaying the same games all the time. So yeah, that was a good one. That's just something that I can just kind of leave running, and I don't really have to. I mean, it's still kind of fast paced, but it's not as fast paced as playing story based games all the time, or shooters or that sort of stuff. So yeah.
So you can always get back to it and just continue when you want. Yeah. And when you mentioned clients and the client work, how do you find new projects or new paid projects, or they come to you now, or
they come to me?
Yeah, and what do you kind of learn over this process, like what everyone should do, or some kind of tips?
For me, they come to me at this point. That's when I started my business and quit volunteering, is when I got those job offers. I try to be picky when it comes to taking jobs, even though I want to take all of them. Even personal commissions, I would love to do them. I just don't have the time to do them anymore. For me, client work is something that I have to consciously kind of decide that I really want to do, because it's not the most financially rewarding thing to do. It's mentally rewarding, however, because it's inspiring and it's very fun to work with teams that I've never worked with before. And I mean, job experience is just fundamental as a self-taught artist. And I mean, imposter syndrome is real. I know I have to present myself as a professional. I still feel like I'm so far from good enough to be calling myself a professional. But I mean, I've technically been a professional doing jobs for such a long time. I mean, 2 years. I mean, it's not a long time.
But it is, because, like, you're just in it and it's just going, and yeah.
I mean, I'm just technically speaking. It just sounds really, like, every time I say it, I just can't get over it. I can't shake the fact that it sounds pretentious, but I mean, I would be doing a disadvantage to the community by saying that I'm not a professional, because at this point, with my following and with the sort of skills that I build over time as well, even though I still got lots to learn, I do have a kind of like a role in the community to represent artists in some sort of way. Because if companies or clients work with me, they will hold the experience of working with me as a certain standard for them to look at other artists in the community. And by charging more, for example, people will be able to charge more as well. I got criticized for charging X amount for my art prints once, anonymously, of course, but I got criticized for it. And because they were like, oh, she's asking so much. Of course she does. She has a lot of followers. And I was just like, even just trying to think back about it, why would they be mad about that? Because if they want to charge more, if people see me charge an X amount for my prints, it's going to be a normalized sort of price. Yeah. Even if you hate me, I'm not going to ask them to like me or like my work or agree with how much it costs. I still, at the end of the day, do have a platform that I can use to kind of put a positive spin on things, definitely. Especially because the community is already so underpaid. And it's very common for people to say, oh, it's just art, why would I pay so much for it? That sort of stuff.
Just higher up the standard. And because if you would go to the shop and you want to buy like physical frame, you wouldn't ask them like, oh, can I have it cheaper? And they were like, of course not.
Exactly. So I try to put my best foot forward in representing the community and doing something that I believe is fair. Even though imposter syndrome, like I said, is a really big thing that influences my ability to price myself. I really have to turn that off and just say, okay, I'm just gonna go as like how it's supposed to go. Opinions aside, self-doubt aside, it's just important to do that at this point. I would recommend that to other people as well. Like, even if you don't believe in your artwork, try to pretend like you do, because if you're working with a client, you're not only representing yourself, you're also potentially, making it difficult for yourself and other artists in the long run.
Yeah.
We do carry that responsibility altogether as a community to raise awareness about how artwork is priced and what is fair and what isn't, and how artists should be treated, because there's still a lot of people that think they can just treat artists without any respect, sadly.
Yeah, because it's not only about creating the artwork, but you have to spend money on your materials or tools you use, the education, so everything. And also,
and
as you,
well.
like, I mean, you have to support yourself. As you mentioned, like the professional artist, I think it's someone who can support themselves, through doing art. So, I mean, definitely, that's where you are.
Yeah.
So,
I guess.
And because also, as you mentioned, like you can higher up the prices when you have higher demand, which is normal. So you can start with some amount and then you go up later on when you just don't have time enough to create everything. But how would you kind of suggest people to start with? Maybe what would be kind of the starting price, you think, if you want to talk about that?
I don't know. I heard that people kind of went with 35 euros an hour or something like that, or 30 euros an hour for like art students.
Yeah.
So even if you don't study artwork, I think that's a really good starting point. It really depends on where you live, though, what the living costs in your country and area are like, and what the averages in the industry are in your country, and the countries that you work with. I know over here, 75 euros an hour is common for professionals to ask. So I base my rates on like what the average is, what the demand is, and the time that I have that I can put into the commission, because there's more than just like the actual hours. Like if, for example, I would spend 5 hours on an illustration for a company that wants me to draw a character, I would charge 5 times my hourly rate. But if I needed to have it done in like instead of like over a month's time or like over 2 weeks' time, 5 hours is a low amount of hours. So I would say 2 weeks. I would charge that. But if I were to have it done, like it's currently Wednesday, by Friday, I would charge much more, because I would have to put aside other things and reschedule and work in the evening or work during like non-office hours, I would say. And have to potentially risk like my health by drawing longer hours. So you have to keep that into consideration as well. But other than that, I know that a lot of students use 30 euros or $35, $40 an hour as like a base point to start doing professional artwork.
But that's perfect, just to have kind of like a starting point in mind, and then like we can research what is like in our country, as you said, what is maybe the average price or a monthly salary for a like artist, and then you divide it by hours, then you add some social benefits and all of this. So the tax is what we have to pay separately afterwards. So but perfect.
I mean, that's all like business stuff that really highly depends on your government as well. I mean, taxes and that sort of jazz. I always, when I discuss prices, like that's how we do it, at least here, we discuss the prices without taxes, and then because it's company to company usually, and when it's to a consumer, you have to add the taxes though, but that's just here. It might be completely different. I know in America it's an entirely different story and completely different percentages as well. So it just varies. I can't really say anything about that, and I would. It's really not possible to say like this is the hourly rate that you should ask as a beginning. So.
Yeah, exactly. So tricky. So but so everyone should just search how it is in their country and how that works, and so perfect. Thank you for the tip. And as you mentioned, like we were discussing like how to say yes and no to projects. If you have to say no, kind of what is kind of going on in your head, like the decision making part?
Obviously the monetary game from it, because I do have to be realistic. If it's such a low pay, no matter how fun the project, I just can't justify it, because I would be taking time from content that I can make for myself and that I can make potentially more money with, or other projects that I could take on. So that's definitely important. Other than that, it's just something like sponsors, companies that I want to work with, or jobs that I get offered on freelance basis. I just want to make sure that it's something that I personally enjoy and believe in. I feel like those like sort of morals are a little bit too important sometimes for me. If I didn't have the platform and the luxury that I had, I would never be able to do it like how I am doing it currently. So I definitely appreciate the luxury that I have in that, and that I can cherry pick the sort of things that I really enjoy and believe in. But even even when I was younger and I got job offers that I didn't particularly enjoy, I didn't take them. I didn't say, okay, I will take them because I need to make money. No, I just accepted that I wasn't getting enough job offers that were providing enough money and were companies that I believed in or were respectful or all that sort of jazz. So I didn't consider them jobs that could support me. So I didn't consider myself able to support myself as like an entrepreneur or a business person. So I never really had a moment where I considered myself not to have that luxury, or where I had to take jobs that I hated, because I just didn't do it full time. By that time, I had part-time jobs and I volunteered when I was unfit for work. And that's what I just did instead. I never really, I would rather work by picking up garbage from the street, which is something that, I mean, it's smelly. Nobody likes picking up garbage with their hands. I mean, still, like, there's fun parts to the job, because I did that too when I worked at the shelter. I had to clean out literal poop. So I not to say anything bad about other people's jobs, because they're still jobs, but I would much rather do that than work on illustration jobs that I hated. I actually have considered doing volunteering again in a different form, because I don't enjoy full-time illustrating as much. I really am not made for living in entrepreneur's lifestyle. I'm not that sort of person at all. I had to be, because I got so many personal job offers and it's going so well that there is no way that I could make a better living, or even in the future, than I can now. So I was kind of forced into that, but I don't really enjoy freelancing because I am a really social person. I'm very extroverted. What's it called? Extroverted. Yeah, sorry, I can't say words. So I've been considering taking on a part-time job or doing anything like that, but I can't. I just don't have the time. I'm traveling so much, and the traveling takes care of me being antisocial already. So really glad. I'm really privileged. I'm really honored that I get to go to all these places, so that it fixes its own problem. But yeah, I would rather do that than take those jobs. And that's what I keep in mind.
But that's perfect, because then you know what you want, and you can set some goals, and you can structure your time differently in the future. Maybe you can have an assistant, or you can have a team of people, or you can do it half and half, like illustration and other work. So you never know.
Yeah, definitely.
And so what are the projects you are working on now, or something coming up in the future you want to share, or it's not secret, or...
I'm working on releasing a bigger project, actually. Possibly one of my biggest projects so far. It's I've worked on a lot of things for companies that paid quite well. I've worked on collaborations that paid quite well, but lately I've been getting kind of bored with that, so I returned to Instagram and YouTube again. YouTube, I'm super excited about. I'm traveling a lot in the future as well, so I want to do vlogs of that and share a little bit more about my life as an artist, besides just my process. But besides that, I'm working with Instagram on something cool, which is going to be signposted next week, and that's when we should be having this up as well. Yes. So I'm really promoting that now. I'm really excited to work with them. I'm honored that they wanted me to do this. So that's going to be on the stories. And then I'm working on a physical object that people can purchase. It's going to be somewhat this shaped. It's going to have multiple layers. It's going to be really cool. Layers like an onion or
and
or
you
an
can
ogre.
maybe turn the layers, or you don't know.
Yeah, maybe, or like fold them. I don't know. I wouldn't do that. That would be kind of like. But yeah, it's gonna be cool. I'm kind of seeing, because I had multiple offers, multiple parties that were interested, and I'm seeing what works for me, discussing it all. But I'm working on the concept in the meantime, and I'm just taking it into my own hands and kind of working on it, because
Cool.
getting those offers really inspired me to work on it. It's not something that is offering like a lot of money, but I just really, really want to do it. I want to invest my time into it, and I hope it will be worth it. It's going to be a little bit of a risk, but spending time on client work for most of this year so far and doing a very amazing amount of sponsorships that I was honored to get offered, I have built up a little bit of space where I can work on my own stuff. And that's why I returned to YouTube specifically, because YouTube will offer me a lot of time to work on my personal projects while still earning money, because I gotta feed my cat and I gotta feed myself, you know.
Definitely.
That's gotta keep the electricity running so that I can work on my tablet as well. That would be nice.
And do you know already when your project will be out? End of the year or next
No.
year, or you don't know yet?
Definitely next year.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool. So I would like to know as well, like you mentioned some of the projects, and what was maybe your worst or difficult career moment, and what you learned from it?
This is gonna sound really weird, but the worst moment in my career was right after hitting 1 million followers. It sounds like the most amazing moment in my career, you would say, but I was kind of like building up towards a little bit more stress when this kind of happened, and I was working towards 1 million. That was kind of keeping me going, and I was motivated to work towards that. And then as soon as I hit that, I was like, I kind of like froze, and I had like all these thoughts coming through my head. There were different thoughts. There was the one, okay, so what now? I did it. I did 1 million. I never expected to get here. What's next? And follower count isn't something that I think is really important. I think your engagement and the sort of impact that you have on people is more important than that. But milestones are definitely something that still impacts your work as an influencer, as an artist. So it was still quite an impact to me, but it was also just like the kind of idea of having 1 million followers, the symbolism of it, having so many followers. And I felt just really worried. I was just like, I don't deserve this. I don't know what to do with it. I have been given this platform, but I don't have any inspiration. I don't have good enough works. I completely broke down after that time, and I really had a tough time getting back on my feet. I kind of struggled on for quite some time. I was traveling, I was taking breaks, but I was taking half-assed breaks, actually. I was never really giving myself rest, and even during this time, I still felt pressure to post. I felt pressure to perform. I felt pressure to prove that I was worth it, not necessarily to other people, although other people were my kind of like way of how to measure it. But I was desperately trying to prove to myself that I was worth it and that I was doing well. So I was trying to post somewhat frequently. I posted a little less, but I was just worried that as soon as I would stop, I would lose everybody's interest and people would go away, and that it was fleeting and that it would somehow disappear within like a split second. I was putting a lot more thought into it than needed, because recently I took an actual break. I hadn't posted on Instagram in a month. Even before that, I was already traveling a little bit more, and I think it was around the time when I went to the Faber-Castell factory when I really had the moment where I was like, okay, I need to chill. I need to give myself some space to breathe. And I didn't post for a month, and people kept following me. I still gained as much followers as I did every single day. It never really slowed down much. I didn't get people complaining. I didn't get any sort of negativity from it whatsoever. I still got jobs. I still got to do a lot of fun things. And I was just so relaxed. And now I'm really re-energized. I'm working on new stuff again, and I'm purposely trying to do my own thing rather than work for clients all the time. So yeah, I feel really a lot more relaxed, and my physical health has been improving a lot too. I was sick a lot more this year. I got like 5 colds, and I think that was just also the stress affecting it a little more. I did get sick this month, but overall my energy has just been much better, and my mental state has just been a lot more relaxed and chill. So yeah.
So that's good. So basically, even though we have to work hard all the time, so we still need to remember to take breaks.
Yeah, that's really important. But also, you might think that you're taking breaks, and you might think that you're relaxing, and you might think that you're being lazy, but trust me, you're not. That's what I really had to realize. I felt very guilty, and I felt very restless when I took breaks, and now I can take breaks without feeling that way anymore. I think, I don't know, it's hard to do that, but yeah, 1 million right after that was definitely the most difficult time. Now I'm getting out of that again, so I'm really glad that that is over.
Yeah, but it's good that you know now and how to get over. And kind of, what is your main motivation, or how do you get yourself motivated when you feel like down?
I always see, kind of what ties into that question as well. There's 2 aspects to that. There's like what motivates me and what reminds me of what why I do it. And then there's also people asking me, how do you draw? How do you remember to draw? How do you stay motivated to draw so much? For me, I don't have to actively try to motivate myself to draw, because if I do that, something is wrong. I think an artist or someone that is a creator, doesn't matter what you're creating, I might change my medium over time as well, because an artist, like, drawing is just one way of expressing your artistic thoughts and vision. But if I don't create, like, at a certain time, I will always feel like creating something again. That's just how I am as a person. I think a lot of artists can probably relate to that. So I think that is a piece of advice I would give to people as well. If you have to force it, don't, because what is it worth? I mean, there's obviously like different degrees in it. If you're really just being lazy, you need to get some work done and you need to study up a little bit, obviously do that. But if you have to force your creative process when it's just free work, then don't, because you're doing something wrong in that case, or you're not enjoying it. And why would you create it then? Because art is still in some way just a hobby and something that should come naturally in a certain way. There's different tricks that you can take to that can use to feel a little bit more motivated, like doing warm-up sketches or studies or that sort of stuff if you're feeling stuck. But that's just side stuff that you can try that out. But if that doesn't work and your mindset is still like, oh, I have to force it, then something is wrong. But besides that, like, actual motivation for me to keep going is a lot of it is followers. I try to not say this. I tried to in the past, but I care a lot about what people think about me and a lot about what I get to influence in a world. And seeing that people like it and seeing people interact with my artworks and tell me their own takes on it, be inspired by it, or even just commenting and liking, that reminds me of, okay, it's worth it. I should keep going, because obviously some people enjoy it. So that's definitely one of the things. Before I had my followers, it used to be my friends that also drew, and being in an environment where people already drew a lot, because I know that the luxury of having followers is not for everybody. I remember the days when I was on DeviantArt and I would jump in the air if my drawing got over 10 favorites. So, I mean, I know a lot of people go, oh, how are you motivated? How did you stay motivated if you didn't have a lot of followers? For me, it was community and just being around other people and drawing together with them, making up stories and collaborating and doing art trades. Yeah, that was for me what made it fun. Very social aspects, I realized. It's not, the actual satisfaction of seeing something on paper as much. Sometimes it's just as simple as like actually enjoying the physical aspect of drawing. Like there's nothing more amazing than a crisp ink line on a piece of paper, just like the textures. It just makes me happy. I don't know, or just like the act of drawing and just kind of starting with a blank canvas and putting colors on it and that sort of stuff, like digitally or traditionally. It's just fun. I think it's a hobby. It should be.
Definitely, yeah. People should enjoy, or like everyone in our audience, like they should just try it out, what they like, and if they don't like whatever they are doing now, they should try something else.
Yeah, definitely. And if you don't like doing, backgrounds, why the hell would you do backgrounds? Because I know a lot of people, that was like one of my first thoughts. I was like, I don't enjoy drawing backgrounds as much. Now I do again. It comes naturally. It always will change. But I was like, yeah, I can just be a character artist like after a while. And now I just think back on it and I'm like, duh, that makes a lot of sense. But back then, everybody was like, if you don't draw a background, your drawing isn't complete. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. That's definitely how it works. Like, I'm not going to complain about someone not drawing like radiators or lamps or, I don't know, like airplanes. If that is not what you want to draw, then that's not something that you want to draw.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of, it sounds really stupid, but I know that you should try to be a little bit more varied, but if you want to specify your specific skills on something, why the hell not? It's still your artwork. If there is an audience for it, even if there's no audience for it, even if you can make no money with it, I don't think that should be your primary drive. And if you want to be a professional artist, obviously there's things being said about being varied and having different sort of skill sets, but there's also something about being specialized in something. It's what people will hire you after all. So, yeah.
Definitely, yeah, because when you choose something, then you put your heart in it, so it's like your best work because you enjoy doing that.
Yeah, I used to feel guilty. I used to feel really bad about not drawing backgrounds. I don't know, it's something so specific. And now I like them because I don't worry as much about it anymore. It used to feel like such a chore because I was like, I have to do it to be a real artist. And now that I have put away that mindset, I'm just like, oh, I want to draw what I want to draw. I get inspired by backgrounds and I get inspired by settings and that sort of stuff. And I'm like, I want to draw this because it will make me happy if I can do it. Yeah. So I think that is really important.
And do you have something now which simplifies your life? Something maybe you started to do every day, or like a meditation or sport or yoga? Or maybe it can be also just some tool or, as you said, like watching TV or video games.
I'm a little bit lazy, so I don't do any sports. I should. No, like any tool or any specific thing that's helped me. I'm still getting healthcare. I'm still not out of, I'm out of treatment now, so that's good. But I still get a lot of help. I still have professional help, which is great. And it's okay. No shame, no stigmas. I have been talking about getting back into therapy because I want to get specific help for some of the issues that build up over time, because there's definitely still things to tackle. But already having counseling has just really helped me. I have weekly counseling sessions, sometimes even more than that. And I needed to get over that. I needed to not feel ashamed about needing more. So that's just like a really heavy sort of example, but that really helped me. A more simple thing, I don't know, there's not something that I have, like, I think about as a ritual, I mean, I sit on Discord a lot. I know Discord has helped me a lot with feeling less lonely as a freelancer. And I talk to mostly non-artists. My Discord server is a server with very varied people. And we are pretty much on there every day. Sometimes we're inactive for a couple of weeks, but I've been in there for about a year now. And just talking while I'm working and doing other stuff around the house really helps me stay social and keep a less hyper-focused mind on just the art community and just freelancing and just art as a job. Because I don't really go out very much, and I don't do much other things when I'm traveling. It's always for conventions and for business-related things. So making friends outside of the art community has helped me.
That's really good. Oh, when you mention also the conventions, do you have like favorite conventions you go to, or something when your fans can see you in the near future?
I mean, there's a convention really nearby my house, which is Wacom in the Netherlands. I was there last month. That is a convention that I just really enjoy because it's something that I go to every year. It's like it's a small convention, but I know pretty much everyone there, and I've been going there since I was younger. So that's a different sort of convention. I feel like I'm going there as a person, as like my kid self, rather than an artist. I haven't really been visiting a lot of conventions abroad, so I don't have much experience with it yet. I really enjoyed going to Summer in the City, which was a YouTuber convention, because it wasn't I don't watch a lot of anime, so I don't really connect with the anime convention crowd very much. And I don't read a lot of comics, so Comic Cons also don't really apply to me. I know Comic Cons are pop culture events mostly now, so it really varies. The sort of content doesn't really matter anymore. So I think that Comic Con is so far like the biggest convention that I've gone to where I'm like, okay, the content that is on there I really enjoy, but atmosphere-wise, Wacom is just so much fun. Summer in the City was cool because of the people that I met there and it being a convention abroad that I went to. And I'm going to Japan weekends in Madrid soon. I'm going there in 2 weeks actually already. It's coming soon. And I really want to go to conventions in the US because I know that there's the convention scene is the biggest over there, and most of my followers are there.
CTN, maybe?
Sorry, which one?
CTN in November.
Oh, I wish I could go there. No, I don't think I'll be able to attend, but I really want to go to New York Comic Con. That's like my all-time goal. MCM London seems really fun to me as well, atmosphere-wise, but I've never attended, so... I would be open to recommendations if people have requests for me to attend certain places, because I always get questions like, are you going to this con? Are you going to this con? Will I be able to buy your prints? Let me know. I always tell those people. And also, I can't afford to travel and take all my stuff usually. So I have to kind of rely on conventions that want me over as a guest, which I'm honored by because I get more and more requests to attend. But yeah, I always let people know that they can suggest guests as well. So if you really want your favorite artist over, just send an email. I mean, I do that for my friends a lot as well. I generally just message their Facebook pages or their Twitters, and I'm like, hey, this artist is really popular here and I really enjoy their content. Would you be interested in inviting them over? That's what I do. I do that for friends that I would want to meet because, I mean, if they're famous artists and I know them, I know that way we can hang out easier. So I'm kind of using it a little. I'm sorry for that. But also I do that for people that I look up to a lot and actors and people that I think are cool.
Yeah. That makes sense, because of course, like when you know someone that is a great artist and you want to see them there at the convention, like why wouldn't you contact the person organizing? So
when I was younger, I didn't realize that you could actually do this, but the convention wants to make it a convention that people will enjoy, so they listen to the people. It's really as simple as that.
Definitely. And let's talk about the future. And I would like to know what would be your dream scenario around 5 to 10 years. if you cannot fail, you're not afraid of anything, and like, okay, this is how it is.
I don't know. I'm just I'm keeping a really open mind to things. I really have just plans for next year. That's it. I'm trying to save up money because I get a lot of job offers now, but I don't know how my health is going to be. I might go back to being unable to work. So I'm kind of making sure that I have some money saved up and that I'm investing in things that will last me a long time. So I don't spend a lot of money generally. I live on a very low amount of money. A lot of people always ask me, oh, you're always going to such cool places. I always try to sleep with friends, get really cheap tickets. I'm really glad I'm small because I always have enough leg room in cheap planes and that sort of stuff. Like when you have the cheap fare flights, that sort of stuff. I mean, I can stand up underneath the cabinets. That's how short I am, so I'm happy. But yeah, I don't know. I try to be responsible for now because I don't really have a very clear perspective on the future. I honestly didn't have any perspective at all, so I'm just glad that I can plan ahead a year now and that I have a house to live in for a longer amount of time. I was always moving around. I was in treatment for such a long time. I genuinely didn't have like an actual house where I lived. I lived in healthcare. It's like almost like staying in a hotel. You are just in that room and you have your stuff there, but I never really felt at home. And the last place, my apartment where I lived, it was a temporary place because the buildings were really old and they were gonna demolish them at one point. Now they're not doing it anyway because there's so many people looking for cheap housing. But I finally got to this place, which is a newly renovated little house in the city, which I'm so happy about. And it just made me feel a lot more like, okay, now I need to save up and make sure that for the future I have a little bit more perspective. But I'm happy. I'm happy that there's at least a little bit. A year for me is a big deal. 5 years, I don't know. I can say all these things, but I don't really want to make myself unhappy by not being able to make these goals. So I know it's good to plan ahead, definitely. I try to not do it in my case specifically because of my health and all that stuff. Yeah.
And then more in the far, far future, if we think about like, what would you like to be remembered for? It's more like a deep question, but something like, yeah, if you have something in mind.
I don't really want to be remembered. I think I just want to make an impact while I do this sort of stuff. And I want to make sure that I am as kind as possible to as many people as I can. What I do want to try and do is teach in a certain way. I don't want to be a teacher, but I want to, because of my experience with autism and healthcare, I do want to work in that at one point, even if it's just going to be like a temporary workshop every week or something for a certain amount of time, like a limited amount of time. That already is something that I just really want to do because I don't know, I just want to do something that I feel qualified for and feel like I have something to say about and I do have experience in, because when I was younger and being in such a difficult situation, you just don't want to hear from someone in an entirely different life experience, like this is how you're supposed to do it. So I think it would be something that I genuinely have like actual weight in. So I've kind of been focused on that in some way or form, that I want to do that in the future. And that's hopefully what I will be remembered for, not for having autism, because that's stupid, but I hope to at least do something for the kids that are in the shoes of my kid self.
Yeah, definitely, because it would be great if there's someone who already have an experience and they feel closer to that person or you, right? If you would come there and making them happy also with the drawings or something, that's like perfect. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy that you took time from your busy schedule to join us here. There was so much inspiration and tips. Thank you so much.
No problem. I hope it sounded okay, because I always worry so much. I'm like, after this interview, I kind of because I think this is really important to share, to break down like this sort of image that I might have portrayed in this interview. After this, I'm gonna reconsider everything I just said. I'm just gonna have like a mental breakdown. I'm just gonna sit there like, did I come off nice? Did I come off like I have an ego? Did I come off maybe too humble? Did I say anything weird? Did I say anything rude or anything? So if that is the case, I just want to get that out there. I hope it was useful. I hope it was somewhat interesting, and I hope it didn't sound any like I took things for granted or stupid or anything. I don't know. I'm just really worried.
No, it's just from your experience, and I think that's totally great. And before we say goodbye, maybe you can share like a last piece of advice or guidance, kind of just going through your art career.
Okay, one piece of advice is that nobody knows what they're doing. I know that a lot of people have said this before me, but specifically in the community, I know that I put people on a pedestal all the time. But especially, once again, going back to the Faber-Castell factory, meeting those artists that I looked up to for a long, long time, being in a room with them, drawing was nerve-wracking. I was so nervous. But they were nervous as well. Piccolo was in the corner. He was literally shielding his sketchbook from me. He was like, don't look at it. Don't look at it. I'm so embarrassed. Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, are you kidding me? You're so amazing. You're such a big influence on me. Are you absolutely joking? He was like, those are ugly studies, blah, blah, blah. And I was the same. I was just there like, don't look at my stuff. Don't look at what I'm sketching. Like throwing away sketches all the time. Everybody feels like that. And I think transparency and sharing that we feel like that is really important, and I want to do that in my YouTube channel in the future, and I hope other artists will do that as well, because that makes it just a lot more comfortable, and it makes the work experience a lot more fair as well, because if we share our experiences as a freelancer or working for companies or anything, if we're open about it to a certain extent, because there's certain things that you're legally not allowed to be open about, like I think rates and stuff you're not supposed to talk about very much with when it comes to freelancers. I don't know how it technically works, but as long as we're open about it a little bit, about our feelings, about our experiences, everybody is going to grow from it, and there's room for everybody in the industry. Don't worry about having to tear each other down. We're one big happy family, hopefully. I know that there's a lot of people who worry about competition, but if we raise each other up, we don't have to compete as much, because the industry will be healthier, and we're going to be paid better, and we're going to be much happier in the end. So
totally agree, and hope also these interviews will help young artists or anyone who wants to do more and just be inspired, and just so we'll help each other succeed, and inspire each other. I think that's great.
Yeah.
And so thanks again for being here.
No problem. Thank you for having me. It was really fun.
And thanks everyone for joining, and see you in the next episode.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.
Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and let me know in comments. Also, please subscribe to my channel for more videos, because I post new interview every single workday. You can also find the resources mentioned in this episode at artsideoflife.com. Just type a guest name in the search bar. There is also a little freebie waiting for you, so go check it out. If you want to listen to the interviews on the go, make sure to check out the podcast episodes at artsideoflife.com/podcast. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you, and don't forget to inspire each other. I will see you guys in the next episode.